there were interesting developments in the Red Sea in recent attacks that some people attributed to Ansarullah. That wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, Ansarullah in Yemen, they denied that they had anything to do with the explosion that happened in the Red Sea. And they said we had nothing to do with it whatsoever. But we didn't really know what was actually hit and what exactly happened. Then there were reports that it was actually an Iranian vessel under a different flag carrying oil to other countries moving through the Red Sea. Iran officially denied. They said it was not owned by Iran, the oil ministry said. However, not owned by Iran is true, but that doesn't mean Iran didn't use it, by the way. So it's a recognition that holds different meaning here. And there's a very high likelihood that it was Iranian and it was attacked over there. The interesting part in this is that this attack came simultaneously with espionage and surveillance flights being conducted by the British and the Americans in the same area, going through the Gulf of Aden, up the Red Sea, then through Saudi Arabia, reaching the UAE and making another circle. Monitored and verified. What were they doing in that area? What were they exactly looking for? We know very well that they were engaged in a war directly with Yemen and targeted and bombed Yemen. Now they're having these simultaneous flights with this attack against what appears to be an Iranian vessel. Okay, the oil ministry, again, they said it's not owned by us. It's true, again, but that doesn't mean it didn't have Iranian oil. What is this exactly? What's happening here? Well, if the Ansarullah in Yemen had attacks previously, they have a ceasefire now, Israel, the United States, Britain, other countries allied with Israel as well, they want to send a message to what's coming next in those areas. Number one, for Ansarullah in Yemen, that, okay, you need to end these attacks, although there was no outright confirmation, by the way, that they're going to stop the attacks. They just said that we will respect the decisions of the Palestinian people and we're going to be monitoring the situation. To them, it was ending the genocide and lifting the siege. They could easily interpret what's happening now as not an ending of the genocide and not a lifting of the siege. But there's another argument that would support that notion should the Palestinian negotiator want a de-escalation at present for strategic and calculated purposes to potentially go through a certain period that will end eventually. It's going to have to end at one point, whether in a good way or in a bad way. It's going to have to end at one point. They're sending two messages. They're sending a message to Yemen. We are here still, even if you are de-escalating, and don't think of attacking us because we have our eyes on you and in this region too. Two, the second message, of course, to Iran. How? Well, they just reintroduced Britain, France, and Germany, just reintroduced, and other countries as well, sanctions on Iran following a request from the United States. The United States was also asking China not to buy oil from Iran. As a matter of fact, they asked China not to buy oil from Russia too. China said no, that's not going to happen. And they want to apply more pressure on Iran because the Iranians told them, we're not talking to you anymore about anything to do with the nuclear project. You are treacherous. You don't have any sort of respect for the agreements that we had before, and the talk with you is totally pointless. That was evident from Donald Trump's negotiations with them. Then he started to celebrate Benjamin Netanyahu's attack. And then the icing on the cake was Donald Trump participating in this attack, as theatrical as that was and as ineffective as it was at the time, as confirmed by American security and intel sources and Israeli intel and security forces too. He had this attack, whether it was to protect Netanyahu or try and apply more pressure on Iran that he wanted to Surrender. He was asking the Iranians to surrender. All right, what's next? What's next is, well, we can't have them enrich uranium at their own liberty. They're frustrated with the fact that Iran is telling them, no, we don't want to talk. They want Iran to talk under sanctions, under hostility, and under these delusional, arrogant, supremacist demands from Iran. Same neo-colonialist, supremacist mindset from Western establishments towards another Muslim country. Yet again, surprise, surprise. And they are expecting Iran to comply with them. Iran isn't going to comply with that. Iran was showing them willingness. They told them many times, we're willing to talk to you. We're willing to have negotiations. We are willing to discuss the levels of enrichment. We are committed to preventing the expansion of nuclear arms. We don't have a problem. We can reach an agreement. No, no, no. And they reach more demands. It's led by America. And when I say led by America, by the request of Israel and the Zionists in America. It's nothing to do with America even. Why? Donald Trump started to ask, you know what Donald Trump started to ask Iran? He was initially saying, don't have nuclear bombs. And if you recall several months back, he said, we don't have a problem if they have a nuclear campaign. Even if we don't have agreement with them, it's not a problem. Then he started saying, you need to completely get rid of your nuclear project, and you need to get rid of all of your missiles too. Then he added a specific demand. You can't have any missiles, any ballistic missiles that reach over 500 kilometers. Who are you? And for the sake of who is that exactly? Israel. The same exact demands that Benjamin Netanyahu and his entity of terror wanted the American president, as if he is the spokesperson of the Likud party or Benjamin Netanyahu's office, demands directly from Iran, regardless completely of the American interest, by the way. They conducted negotiations for 2 years. During the Obama administration, they reached an agreement. Everyone was happy with that agreement. Iran promised them not over a certain limit. We don't want nuclear weapons. We can have inspections, no problem. Then 2 years after negotiations, they went through. Donald Trump comes, destroys that agreement for the sake of Israel at the request of Benjamin Netanyahu. Then later on, he pretends like he wants to have another deal with Iran, and hey presto, we're in the same circle again. He goes and imposes more sanctions. Then he wants them to completely get rid of the nuclear project altogether, no civil, no nothing, as if a nuclear entity of terror with an administration of terror like the United States is entitled to open its mouth against any other country. Who used the nuclear weapons? Who bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Who killed 250,000 of Japanese people? Who? And why don't you open your disgusting, despicable mouth against your little genocidal entity with over 300 nuclear warheads and a secretive nuclear campaign when it threatened Gaza with nuclear bombs? The levels of hypocrisy, my goodness, it doesn't end. It's endless. So in that regard, with Iran, they're clearly now putting an ultimatum and starting to implement hostile tactics and sabotage against Iran. Of course, Iran is going to deny because they're very clever. They're clever in how they export their oil globally. Iran bypassed this embargo and these sanctions a long time ago. They have very clever tactics, and the American administration knows that very well, and they will continue to do so, as they should. Who is America to be listened to anyway? Who are they to impose sanctions on other countries just because they don't like them, or they don't like their financial system, or they don't agree with anything that they do, whatever it is? And now Iran has a backing. It has a back route. China is the biggest buyer of oil from Iran. They have other countries that they deal with too. And Iranian oil reaches the shores of Europe and reaches the United States in so many different ways. Trump promised them that he's going to counter that, and they're going to make more moves now to take this down, this whole campaign. But now they're reaching a new level. And that new level indicates what? That they're willing to take action. And if the United States and some of the European establishments are willing to take action against an Iranian vessel in the Red Sea, we need to be sure that they're willing to take more hostile actions against Iran as a state. That would include a direct attack against Iran, this time justifying it by what? Saying that they are indeed at a level of a nuclear bomb, time is running out, and we need to attack Iran now.